Hello, good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of Mackmyra Life with me, Micky Plummer, and my co-host, Richard McKean.
Hello, hello.
And tonight, guys and girls, we have a very special guest with us this evening. We have the lovely Moa Nilsson of Swedish Whisky Girl infamy. So yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Moa.
So guys, before we get on and talk about Moa and Swedish Whisky Girl and all good stuff, and before the mockery of me and Rich starts, don't forget, guys, if you log on to Mackmyra.co.uk, you can see the last of our deals from Black Friday. So we've got the Moments pack, which ends tonight, £275, and you get 4 bottles of whiskey there. They normally retail for £99 each. So that ends tonight, Thursday night. So tomorrow night the seasonal pack ends. So £225 gets you 6 bottles of whiskey that normally retail for about £60 to £65 each. And then on Friday, our very, very popular Explorers pack runs out as well. So that's £199, 99 pence for our core range, our yak liquor, our 2 gins, and a crate of our Creator tonic. So yeah, so guys, don't miss out on that. So that's Mackmyra.co.uk to get your last minute Black Friday deals in. Is Richard there?
I froze. Did I freeze? I froze. I think I froze. Yeah, I wasn't putting it on. Yeah, jump me in. Where were we, Mick? I'm so sorry.
So you're about to give an overview of the show, Rich.
Perfect. I can do that. We'll do it. We'll do it seamlessly from here on out. But yeah, well, thanks very much to Moa for coming to join us. So Moa is here amongst other things to talk about, a bit of Sweden here and there, but also to help us really with the pronunciation, the proper pronunciation of many of our whiskies. Anyone that's watched any of our shows in the past or been on tastings with us or just talked to us in groups that we're in has probably seen a struggle here and there with things, try and make them up as we go along at the beginning, then thought that we had them locked down and then found out that actually we were doing them all very wrong the whole time. So we normally have a bit of a laugh about it, and I was a bit worried about having this lesson today because we won't have an excuse now, Mick, when we get things wrong.
No excuses. Yeah. No ignorance to hide behind.
Yeah, so I imagine there's a few people watching that have got our whiskies at home as well that are just as curious as Mick and I to to learn how to actually say these things properly too. So yeah, so I guess if you're watching us, thanks for joining, and sit back for the next half an hour or so, however long it may be, and hopefully we can all learn something together. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome. So evening to Jess, Neil, and Andy there that just said good evening, and to Shane, obviously. So I guess the first thing to do, guys, really, is get to know a bit more about our guest this evening. So Moa, tell us a bit about yourself and your alter ego, Swedish Whisky Girl.
Yeah, of course. So Moa, I'm from Sweden, but I've lived in Edinburgh for about 5 years. I moved here to study professional dance, and then I met my boyfriend, and that's kind of how I also got into whiskey, because he started working with whiskey the day after we met. So to kind of get to know whiskey and kind of give it a try, he brought home little samples and kind of started learning where the flavor came from, and that kind of caught my interest as well. So it's all thanks to him that I kind of like it now. And I've always been quite creative, and I like expressing myself through text and images. And I thought it would be a fun idea to start documenting it through an Instagram account, which is called Swedish Whisky Girl. Quite self-explanatory, Swedish Whisky Girl.
You think so, wouldn't you? But if you just want to break that down for some people, because I know you get some questions sometimes.
Yeah, it's quite funny. Because I always hear that I sound quite Scandinavian and that I look quite Scandinavian. So I do promise you, I am from Sweden. I do like whiskey, and I am a girl. So we just can sort that out for all.
Well, there you go, guys. I don't think it gets any more simpler than that, really.
You'd think. But yeah, it's been a really good journey, and have been part of such a nice community. And now recently I've started kind of building my own little thing, just trying to create kind of a friendly and welcoming approach to whiskey. Just seeing that kind of everyone who's sort of legal drinking age, of course, can appreciate this drink, and it doesn't have to be that difficult either. So that's kind of my mission at the moment.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, sounds good. And we're in the last 5 years then, we're your first experience with Mackmyra?
It would have been just after I started working at the Scotch Whisky Experience. So about 2.5, 3 years ago, maybe. And actually, it's all thanks to Angela that I got a really nice and kind of memorable experience with Mackmyra, because she came to an event at my work and spoke about Mackmyra. And of course, being someone who don't know too much about whiskey yet, and being Swedish, I obviously got really interested in what she was talking about. And I had a chat with her. And then at the end of the night, she actually gave me what was left in the bottle she had with her, which is a smoky whiskey, which I'm a big fan of smoky whiskey. So it was the start of my Mackmyra journey, I would say. And I've kind of been caught ever since, because I think they do so many interesting things. And it just makes me quite proud to be Swedish, to see that whiskey is such a innovative and quality product in Sweden as well.
Yeah, nice. And you've been over there as well, I think, with Angela. You went to visit the distillery as well?
Yeah, we were there last.
When was that? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, we were there last summer, I think. We went over. It was, I think, the same day that they were doing a press release for Intelligens, the AI whiskey. Right. So I'm so amazed that she actually had time to show us around. And that photo is, she said that she thinks I pose too cute in all my photos. So she was like, just do something crazy. And I don't know. I don't think that's too crazy, but I might have to practice that a bit more.
Have to practice your crazy. That would be quite an unusual one.
Definitely.
So I suppose we should get down to the crux of why we're here then, really, shouldn't we? You know, the mockery of myself and Rich. Hopefully we shouldn't be too bad though, Rich. You know what I mean? So me and Rich will make an attempt. We have this. We put together 10. Is it 10? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 10. 10 of our products. And let's see. So you know, if me and Rich will go, you can try and stifle your laugh as much as you can, though. That would be really good.
I'm sure you'll be better than you think.
Yeah, I think you've been a bit too hopeful there, pal.
I think you might be, because Mick, we don't have the Intelligens, as Mo has just pronounced it. Intelligens, that wasn't on the list because I think we thought that was such an obvious, easy one. We've left it off the list. And I've just heard Mo pronounce it very differently to how we've called it the whole time. So, you know,
well,
an 11.
I actually have an extra word that doesn't really have anything to do with whiskey, but just one that I think is quite fun, because my boyfriend obviously is Scottish and he tries to learn Swedish words, and this is one that he is just starting to kind of grasp. So I just want to see what you guys think of it as well at the end.
All right, cool. Okay. Sounds good. So I suppose we should start at the beginning. We'll go for how I would pronounce Mackmyra. Rich?
Yeah. Same for me, Mackmyra. I'm sure there's people watching that call it Mack-My-Rah, and I don't think either are exactly right, are they?
Well, I would say Mackmyra,
okay.
Which is kind of the same. It's just a slightly more open A, I would say.
So I suppose if you had to break that down to like a phonetics thing, it would be M-A-C-K. I think we've all pretty much got the Mac bit down, where we would go Mira, M-E-R-A. You would go probably, well, you said Mura, so that would probably be M-U-R-A.
Yeah, maybe. Mira.
If you were, you know, to write it as you would say it, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's tricky for me because obviously I just say it the way I know it. It's quite funny because the word myra means ant in Swedish, so it's one that I think I just kind of say. It's part of my vocabulary.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Mick, do you want to have a go at the real pronunciation?
Mackmyra.
Yeah.
Very
close.
well.
Mackmyra.
Very well. Yeah.
Yeah. See? Was it? It didn't sound as good as yours. I'll say that. I think you're being very generous already.
Obviously, you know, it's not good, is it? Because we're trying. Whereas obviously with Moa, it just slips off the tongue naturally. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure there's like some English things that we could go actually pronounce this way or something like that, but probably not.
Or Scottish things, like last Sweden things, could never pronounce.
Yeah.
Even though obviously, but you know, I live in Glasgow, but I'm still learning the Scottish twangs as well. So
it's a never-ending lesson.
Isn't it just? Isn't it just? So we'll start with the product words then, really. So we'll start with the first one, probably the most Swedish, I'd say, of our core of the core range, which would be what I would call svensk.
Oh, you did that. You did that very well, I think, Mick. Is that how you usually say it? Do you usually put that much emphasis on it?
I'm not putting any extra practice for this to try and look like a
Okay, well, I'm going to say it as Mick, how I always say it, just so that people can hear it. But svensk ek.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely know what you're talking about.
But in a sort of, well, let's be nice to the Brit sort of way. He's trying.
No, I think most people will get it. I would say svensk ek.
Ek. Svensk ek.
Yeah, it's just a slightly longer E, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm writing some of these phonetics down, I think.
Yeah, so I think to break it down like Rich going to do that phonetically, svensk, I think we've all pretty much, we've got that one nailed. I went yek, which is probably like Y-E-K sort of thing. Rich is obviously going for just the E-K. And the way you said that is more like a E-A-K, so svensk yek.
Yeah. That sounds right. Yeah. Look, we're getting it.
Carl's on the ball. The man behind the puppet there to the two numpties on the screen.
Yeah.
On the ball, bless him.
I see that we have some Swedes tuning in the comments as well. It's nice to see. I hope I make them proud. My Swedish is quite neutral, so just be happy that I'm not from the north or from the south, or it would be even trickier.
So you've got regional variances then.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so no pressure, Mick. One of those Swedish people that Mo has spotted is Patrick Bjorshow, who's one of our colleagues, who runs a lot of the show over in Sweden. So no pressure at all on you or me now. Yeah.
And like Steve said, I bet it's easier to speak Swedish after you do.
Brilliant. So what's up next, Mick?
So I think we'll go for a lot of people. So I promise I'm not trying to do anything else. So svensk rök. So Swedish svensk rök.
Svensk rök. And that is, I think, one of the only ones I feel confident in saying, and hopefully we'll get some good marks for that.
Definitely. I mean, it's a lot of people that struggle with the O with the two dots. And I mean, if someone wants a way to kind of remember it, my dad always says that it's the way you say kernel. So it's the kind of second noise there. That is the ö. So yeah, svensk rök.
Okay, so I always thought like obviously the umlaut above the O made like the O into like an U, like a double O. So I would have gone svensk R-O-O-K, svensk rök. So that's what I'm sort of think I'm pronouncing it as. But obviously, as you're pronouncing it and how you said it there, svensk rök is more of an R-O-U-K. Yeah,
I think it's easy to get confused with the umlaut in German that makes the U to like a Y. Right, okay. So it's like in muesli, like you go to a Y instead of a U, but Sweden it's very much its own letter. It's like those three letters that we have at the end of the alphabet, O, A, Ö. And they are quite tricky to grasp. But I think if you find a noise in your own language and can kind of relate it to, I think it's easier to kind of get it.
Happy with that. We should have done scorecards, Rich. That's literally just should have done scorecards. I've got Moa to do scorecards. That would have been quite funny.
Well, let's do this show again in 6 months or something. If Moa's happy to come back and just see how we've progressed, see if we've managed to retain any of the information that we've learned today, and then do scorecards. Then that sounds fun.
Well,
that sounds good.
With the rest of them, then let's try not to offend her too much. Then hopefully she will come back.
I think she's got the patience to deal with that, so I think we're okay. Yeah.
Awesome. So I think we'll jump into our seasonal range now, and one that definitely. So obviously, myself and Rich and the rest of the UK team, we have like monthly. So it used to be weekly, but like sort of like monthly, like educational sessions with the team back in Sweden. And this one, the first time I heard this one pronounced, I'm like, I've never seen that one before. And then the screen, you're like, no, that's not it. That doesn't even look remotely like it. So I'll pronounce it as I first learned, or as I first pronounced it before I learned how to pronounce it. So scored the Ted, basically, or scored the Tid. Aye, that one. Yeah, what about you, Rich?
Well, Skådetid was the first way I pronounced it as well.
Yeah.
And then I think with those sessions that you were talking about, those training sessions were Hurdetid.
Yeah,
Might be closer. Yeah?
Yeah, it's sorry, it's quite funny. I think that's the sound that my boyfriend struggles with as well. The tid. It's the same noise you would make for the number 7 in Swedish, sju. So it's the kind of tid, which kind of just like floats out. It's hard to kind of pronounce it, just in the way when you're explaining it to someone who doesn't speak Swedish. But I think what you did, Micky, the second time you said it, you said tid instead of tid. Which is slightly longer, just like the ek in the previous one. So tid is what I would say.
Hurdetid. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the first voice that usually gets people.
There you go.
I love how that phonetic script looks like something the Swedish chef would say.
Yeah. That's Carl in the background probably practicing as well, because he's an ambassador as well as pulling the strings for us on the show, so he needs to learn.
That looked more like a Welsh word. See, the that looked like a Welsh word. All it was missing like a double L in there or something like that as well.
I thought there was some Welsh looking or Welsh appearance to it, and Mick, you seem to have rolled your R's quite well earlier, but you know, with the. I thought maybe you'd had a bit of time
of practice traveling. Lots of practice traveling the world in my former life in the Royal Navy, Rich. Trying to speak with locals and make an attempt at least at a few key phrases. Mainly to order a couple of beers at a bar, probably more than anything else, you know. But no, I think it's years of practice, and then obviously living in Scotland now for like 11 years. You know, the Scottish are quite good at rolling their R's. You know, I like it. I enjoy Scottish people saying purple burglar alarm.
Yeah.
So try to get a Scottish person to say purple burglar alarm. It's hilarious.
Without digressing too far, Mick, can you say there's been a murder?
There's been a murder.
That's it. That sounds about right to me. Before we move on from this drink as well, by the way, I'll just say that it's the Hurdetid that I poured a glass of before we started, because this is oh, have I frozen again? Did I freeze? It looked like I froze on my screen. Sorry, yeah. So yeah, the Hurdetid is one of probably my favourite of our whiskies. I think this and the Effa from the Moment range. But yeah, I thought I'd try this or have it while we were doing it, because I don't get to drink it often enough, I think, and thought it'd be fun to learn how to say it properly. So yeah, cheers. Well, skål, which is probably wrong. Skål sounds right, close enough.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Cheers.
So with that one then, so we'll move on to the next one. Staying in the seasonal range, and we've gone for Vinterglud. Rich?
Oh, Vinterglud. I've never attempted to say this one any differently. Yeah.
Well, I only changed it to a double O because of the umlaut above the O. So I always thought that made it into a double O, obviously, as we said earlier.
Well, I would say Vinterglöd.
Oh.
Yeah, isn't it? That makes it sound so cool. See, when you put the accent of it as well,
I think this one for me is the one. It's a word. I don't know if you need to say, but the previous one obviously skördetid means harvest time, and Vinterglöd means winter glow. And I feel like as a word, it's just such a almost magical word. I really, really like it, the way you put it together. So Vinterglöd just sounds so like floating and magical to me. It's one of the ones I definitely enjoy saying the most.
It sounds very clumsy when well, a mix was better than mine, but Vinterglöd just ruins everything you've just said. So just it's counter to it.
We need to practice the accent for it as well, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's the accent that makes it key.
Vinterglöd.
Vinterglöd.
Maybe if you have a dram and every time you say it, you just take another sip and it will just flow.
And then it'll end up.
Yeah, definitely.
Vinterglöd.
Yeah, nice.
Vinterglöd. Yeah. So Andrew Bullingham's just said that I think I might be talking about Vinterglöd. Andrew, his favourite one. I think if there's anyone watching, if you've got a dram you like of ours at home, perhaps put it in the comments, and if we don't have it in our list, we'll come to it at the end before Moa's curveball that she's going to throw us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh,
Right. So moving on to the next one then. And obviously this one's fairly fresh on our minds, Rich, because obviously it only came out like 6 weeks ago. So yak liquor.
Yeah. Yak liquor.
Yeah. I would say jaktlycka.
Oh, the T. You put the T, a big T in there.
Every pronunciation of the T, and then break the liquor down into 2 parts. Liquor.
Yeah.
Okay.
So jaktlycka.
Liquor.
Yeah. Nice.
Let's hear it one more time, please, Moa.
Jaktlycka.
Jaktlycka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See? It's a massive improvement, I would say. This is probably the one so far that's been, I mean, I obviously understood what you were saying, but it's probably the one that's been the furthest away from the way I hear it. So it's nice to hear that as soon as you hear it, you just adjust. So very well. I mean, a lot of people hear it, but can't adjust. So, I mean, the Swedish is coming along great.
Thank you. Well, we'll take that. I think this is one that I haven't much.
Once we get to the end and you've done your word, I've got a little surprise for you, Moa, as well. So
oh, okay.
Yeah, you probably should be nervous. You probably should be nervous in all fairness.
Left and right.
So
this Liga. And then
Jakt Liga.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next one, we're going to go into our moment range now. So our posh end, as it were. Probably the one that I actually saw your review on it, which completely changed the way that I said it originally. But I'll say it originally because I watched your YouTube video for this particular one the other day. I think that would be cheating, per se. But so we're going to go for Effa. Yeah.
Effa or Afa are the two for me. And I haven't watched the video to cheat. Afa only because I think I heard Angela pronounce it that way once on a show she did with us. And I assumed she was doing it correctly, so I copied her.
Well, this one is quite an interesting one. I would say Eva, just because the V plus F is an old kind of Swedish way of writing a V. And if you read like really old texts, I'm quite a big vintage fan, so I read a lot of kind of old text in Swedish, and I think it looks very stunning. It's like when you read Old English, so they put the V and the F, and it's quite sort of a posher upper class way of writing, I believe. I don't know the history exactly for this, but yeah, I'll just say Eva.
Yeah, Eva. Okay, so
Eva.
So I would be like A-E-V-A. Eva.
Yeah, I mean, since it's named after, because it's named after the designer. Her name is Eva Attling, so it's just Eva.
Eva.
Yeah, well done.
Eva. Yeah. Okay.
I told you this is a good idea, Rich. I told you this would be a good idea. We're learning. So that's good. Now, the next one is probably really going to trip us up. I think I've got it okay. But then again, I'm a little bit biased because it's me that's saying it. So we'll go for Fjordmark.
Yeah. Fjordmark.
Yeah, this is actually one of my favorite Mack-My-Rahs. And I would say Fjällmark.
Fjällmark. So changing the A to an E essentially then.
Yeah, so, and I think also A make it like or open. Fjällmark. I'm really enjoying speaking Swedish. I don't get to do this often.
Fjällmark. I love that.
Yeah.
Fjällmark, I've been calling it with my terrible pronunciation and accent thrown in.
It's just
I mean, if you just put some characters, people will believe you.
What we found, I think, well, I don't want to speak on Mick's behalf necessarily too much, but as long as you say something with confidence, one of these names with confidence, people just think that that's how it's meant to be said. And I think we've gotten away with that for too long, Mick. I think tonight we needed it. Yeah.
I think on our next round of tasting drips, that our private tasting stuff like that, people will go, "I've seen you guys on with Moa. You've been lying to us for the past year."
Yeah, I mean, at the next tastings you guys do, if people will catch you pronouncing it wrong, then send me a message and I'll get back on this YouTube channel to teach you.
Don't grass us up to the teacher, right? Remember what snitches get, guys. Remember what snitches get, okay? Fantastic. So on to our last product one then. And this is probably the one that actually threw us through a proper hoop. So here the did was quite difficult. But I think this one, I'm going to say it how I think it should be said in Swedish, because I got it so wrong as well. Because obviously we've done this a little bit with Angela when we did the launch show. So me and Shane did the launch show with Angela a couple of weeks ago. And obviously, you know, so we're talking about, you know, as it's spelled, if you take off the umlauts and say it as just the word, cause bars rock, right? But it's not, is it? So, shushbashruk.
Yeah. Shushbashruk.
Yeah, well done. I can tell Angela's been teaching you excellently. It's definitely that. It's shushbashruk.
Shushbashruk.
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems to be one that looks difficult, but then when you try and pronounce it, it's actually quite approachable.
Yeah, definitely. And as we're talking about shushbashruk, that is my particular jam. I'm enjoying this evening. Is that what you've got as well, Myrrh?
That's what I have here as well. Yeah,
Oh,
I couldn't choose. I was like, I'll just go for the last one.
Shushbashruk. So we call it KBR internally when we're discussing this jam, because it's just so much easier to say.
And it's so easy to type when you're in emails and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. Well, I've had to email people about it, and I don't know how to do umlauts on my keyboard yet. I haven't learned, so I have to go and copy and paste it from somewhere else, bring it back, and change the format. I'm an absolute layman with it. There's a good question there from Natalie. Yeah, how important is the tone in Swedish? And an interesting language, actually. Thank you, Natalie. All credit goes to Moa, I think, there.
The tone is quite interesting because I can speak English with a Swedish tone. When I said that, maybe I can't, but if I would speak a little bit more English like this, it would sound like it's a little bit more of a Swedish tone. So you can kind of hear that it sounds very, very Scandi suddenly. Yeah. And I try my best to make myself understood, so I try not to do that. But I would say, because it's so clear, or at least to me, Swedish sounds very clear. I think that kind of melodic. There's a really good YouTube clip with Alexander Skarsgård when he does the same thing. He like shows you the melody of Swedish, and I think that's the kind of the key essence of it, because there's a lot of people that do YouTube videos on different languages, and just by changing the melody. And when you have the melody, you make it really sound Swedish, or you can tweak it to make it sound Norwegian or Danish. Those languages are quite similar as well.
Oh, good.
Alexander Skarsgård, that name rings a bell. No, go to put me out my misery.
He's an actor. There's a father and son acting duo, I believe. There's one.
Yeah, he plays Tarzan for one, and he is in True Blood. His brother is the guy who plays the clown in it.
Eric in True Blood. That's right.
Yeah, that's him.
That's where I know him from. I thought it was, but I was like, I'm going to say that's who that is, and then be completely wrong. So I'd rather err on the side of caution and go, I'm pretty sure it's that guy, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, no, he has a good accent in English as well. We can't really hear the Swedish, but he can really make it sound that Swedish melody, which is really nice.
I'll definitely look that up. I think Mick would as well. I'll find it, Mick, and I'll share it around the team.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have I think we'll have a team meeting, and we'll have a wee Swedish half an hour or something like that. I think that'd be good. So Noah, since we're on Shushbashruk, what do you think of it?
I really like it. I mean, I'm quite biased because I think anything that Angela does just intrigues me straight away. I think she is so inspiring and such a creative person that it's fascinating. A lot of people say that sometimes when you use a little bit stranger casks, perhaps, that people feel like they're a little bit scared of losing the essence of whiskey. But every time I've met people that do maybe some different things to whiskey, use different casks, and in Sweden, of course, taking a part of Sweden and putting it into the whiskey, I'm just amazed by how they are so passionate about whiskey. They're not passionate about doing things that aren't whiskey. They want to do whiskey, but they want to make it their own. And I think with something like this, I think this one for me has a good amount, or lagom, as we say in Sweden, which means just the right amount of smoke. It's not a smoke bomb that only tastes like smoke, but it also has this lovely fruity Mackmyra character, which for me is almost like little jelly sweets.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it has that sweetness to it, but also the smoke, which I think just makes it a lovely kind of year-round whiskey probably, but it's definitely one that I would love to bring with me when I'm going out on a hike or out in just nature. That's what it kind of tastes like to me anyway.
Just for a walk down the shops in Edinburgh.
I love times walking the streets.
Well, you can do that in Edinburgh. I can't do that in Glasgow, unfortunately.
Yeah, of course. No, it's a good place to be, Edinburgh.
Yeah, definitely. And it's only 40 minutes along the M8, so it's not too far away from me, which is good. Oh, God. Right, okay, thanks, Andy. Go on, Moa.
Do you want to try pronouncing it first?
Go on, Mick, have a go. This, just anyone that's watching, this is a whiskey that came out before Micky and I joined, so we've never really had to say it. I haven't read it.
So I'm going to go for Vintertradged.
I'm going to try and copy Mick because I think he just, with the confidence that he had it, even though it was probably only half confident, it sounded like I believed him. So, Vintertradged.
This is actually an interesting one because
Mickey, don't pretend you know it. So, sorry. No.
You know how I was mentioning earlier that there's 3 letters in Swedish that you don't really have in English? O-A. And I was thinking earlier, I was like, is there actually a whiskey from Mackmyra that has the first letter of them, the A with 2 dots, with 1 dot, sorry. And I couldn't really think of one. So it's great that Anders has put one here because it's Vinterträdgård.
Oh, was it far off then? So perhaps say that one again, Moa.
Vinterträdgård or trädgård, depending on how you kind of want to say it.
Vinterträdgård.
Yeah, nice.
Vinterträdgård.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vinterträdgård. Yeah, throw us another one, Anders. That was easy.
Yeah, knocked out the
Do you want to try the word that I have for you then?
Yeah, yes. Go on. Yeah, go on. And then we'll do mix. Yeah.
Sure. This is a word for nurse in Swedish. It's sjuksköterska.
After you, Mick.
You're not going to the hospital very quickly, are you?
So sjuksköterska.
Sjuksköterska.
Close, yeah?
Yeah, can I hear it once more?
Sjuksköterska.
Sjuksköterska.
Yeah. See? Nice.
Who was better?
I actually would say you're better, Richard. Just because you got the first part.
Yeah. I can't remember it now, though. That's true, yeah.
It's, sjuksköterska. It's just a word that, I mean, good to know, maybe, if you're ever in need of a nurse. But it's
what's the one for doctor?
Doctor.
Oh. Yeah, I'm calling for the doctor's assistant.
Yeah.
Assistant.
Yeah. Both very important people, but one's easier to call for than the other, it sounds like.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Oh, wonderful. Mick, you had a curveball.
That is a tough one. So, in preparation for having the Swedish Whisky Go on the show, I went to my good friend Duolingo, and I did a little bit, and mannen äter bröd and stuff like that. So I've put a few things together, but I'll put together this one. So Svensk Whisky Flicka.
Yeah, nice.
Swedish Whisky Go.
Yeah.
Svensk Whisky Flicka.
Yeah.
That's a good one, yeah.
Bonus points to Mickey.
Yeah. Top of the class.
Svensk Whisky Flicka.
Flicka. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There we go. Oh, this is John. John's one of our guys.
Oh my
God. Cast bottling. I don't know. I have a go at that, Mick, after you.
Solnegangen.
Solnegangen.
So the bottling is called I solnedgången.
Oh. Who was closer? Who was closer with their guess?
Rich,
I think Mickey was slightly closer.
I think we were both a million miles off on that one. Den första utgåvan.
Den första utgåvan.
Den första utgåvan.
Den första. I saw that umlaut and I thought, right, that's a look, an look.
Yeah. You adjusted really well on that one.
Yeah. Easy.
Första
Easy.
utgåvan.
It's not easy, yeah.
Yeah, that's when you spell it.
He's taking the mick now.
Well,
You remember?
oh, is this how you say nurse?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I've forgotten. I've immediately forgotten.
It's quite funny when Cody tries to say it. He says it's like when you're throwing up, you go sköterska. He has a different approach to Swedish words that I've never really thought of, which it's just very funny.
No, it sounds like a life hack for pronouncing words in other languages, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bernsten.
Almost. Bernsten.
Almost. That wasn't almost. I was miles off.
Exactly. So that was probably a little bit more written down than So you just in the stern. I want the word for turtle. Yes. Oh my God.
Jess is not being nice, you guys.
No, Jess isn't playing fair, is she? Because so Jess is a friend of mine and Moa's. She runs a whiskey club as well as working for Single Cask Nation. So her boyfriend, her significant other, Christopher, who works for the whiskey shop, he's Swedish. So Jessie's got the inside track on stuff. Do you know what I mean? So she is not being nice there whatsoever. Well, I'm imagining she's not being nice because she's probably texted me already and just laughing her head off. So come on then. No, what is the word for turtle?
Sköldpadda.
Sköldpadda.
Almost, yeah.
Sköldpadda. Sköldpadda.
Sköldpadda.
Hundpadda.
Yeah.
Sköldpadda.
Sköldpadda.
Sköldpadda. It's the same thing.
Is there an N in the last bit? It sounds like Mickey saying panda. Is there an N in the final?
No N. No. Sköldpadda.
Yeah.
Panda. Man, that's difficult.
Yeah.
That's difficult. So guys, that was quite a bit of fun. Thank you for everybody that chipped in a few words there and that as well. That just to really just mock me and Rich just that a little bit more. And I'm sure when we go off of there, Mo's going to be absolutely creased up laughing and calling us staff Swedish names that were idiots, quite frankly. But we got there. I think we did okay. So we've covered that. So we've had turtle, we've done nurse. I come up with my own Swedish Whisky flicka. So
yeah.
That's good.
Do you want to hear my best Scottish phrase?
Yeah, go for it.
I should not have done this to myself. You're right, hen.
Oh, that's a brilliant one.
Because that's the one you hear in every shop. You go in and someone looks at you and you're right, hen. You're like, yeah.
So obviously with the Scottish, it's definitely about the accent. Do you know what I mean? A lot like you were saying about melody with Swedish. With Scottish, it's about the accent. It obviously depends on where you are. Glasgow's a bit rougher, Edinburgh's a little bit posher, and you go up into Fife where they sing, where they talk. It's quite nice. But you're 8 hen, so that would be like Glaswegian, and that's just a woman as well. Or you're 8 hen.
Yeah, there's a lot of phrases, and I think in Swedish and Scottish it's actually quite fun because they're quite similar. You have words like hus, which is house in Swedish.
House. Yeah.
And barn, which is barn, children or child.
Yeah,
so it's a lot of
now that's a regional thing as well. So more towards Edinburgh and down the east coast it's Bern, and over more towards the west coast it's more Wayne. So the Waynes.
Oh, yeah. Right, so it's a lot of fun with accents and regional differences.
Yeah, definitely. So you get a lot of, obviously, you said before, it depends if you come from the far north or the further south in Sweden. So you get a lot of regionalisation then. Yeah,
I would say so. I mean, down in, it's quite funny. My granddad is from a place called Dalarna, which is about 3 hours north of Stockholm. So it's still mid-Sweden, but it's what most people would maybe consider the start of the north. And when he met my friends when we were younger, he has a very, very strong dialect where he comes from, and he uses a lot of different words that isn't what they would be in Swedish, because it's a really old version of Swedish. And my friends would always ask me what language he speaks, because they wouldn't understand him at all. And it's just things like that. And down in the south of Sweden, a lot of people almost sound more Danish, because they kind of almost slur the words in a way, because they roll their R's in a completely different way.
Okay.
My accent's just very kind of plain, but if I go anywhere and I stay there for maybe 2 or 3 days, my accent really adjusts to who I'm talking to, which almost makes me think of like I'm making fun of people, but it's just that I just hope that people understand me.
And what about our whiskies then, Mo, as well? What's your favourite, name of a whiskey that we've got, or what's the most fun thing for you to say? I imagine there's probably not a great deal of fun in it for you because it's natural. But what would it be?
It's like saying like bread, milk. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But what is the best one? What do you like the most, and what do you like the most to drink while we're at it?
Of course, no, it's I actually miss speaking Swedish, and I'm actually rebuilding my website right at this moment, just so I can have a bilingual website and write in Swedish as well, because it's something I really missed, and I love expressing myself in Swedish. So I'd love to do more content in Swedish as well. I think the one I mentioned earlier, Vinterglad, is one of my favorite to say. But my favorite flavor-wise, I think, is either Eva or Swedish Whisky.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I really like those two. And we did a lineup all the Mack-My-Rahs I have at home. And it was those two that really stood out, along with Fjällmark, I think is a fun one as well, because it's I think it's the first Mack-My-Rah I bought. So it has like a special place in my heart.
Nice. So with Vinterglad, yes. So with that, you say it's fun to say, but is that because it evokes like special memories in that then for you? Because you said that before when we covered it. Do you know what I mean? It's just that whole feeling around that word and what it actually means.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know I mentioned to you guys earlier that it's freezing cold in my flat, and I absolutely love the winter. I'm not a summer fan. I don't like hot weather. I want rain. I want snow. I want really cold, and I want to dress up in layers of clothing. So just that it has a word, like the word winter in it, just appeals to me. And then glow is, when you start getting into winter and it gets dark outside earlier and you can see the city lights or you can see candle lights and they have this kind of warming glow. That's what that name means to me, the winter glow, Vinterglad. Just makes me think of my favorite time of year. So it's definitely a perfect whiskey for this time of year. And what the whiskey actually is, with its maturation of the influence of the PX as well, just makes it, and the mulled wine, just makes it a really lovely winter whiskey, I would say.
Yeah, no, you're 100% spot on there. Yeah, it's like when we were discussing Jäklika. I called it a Halloween. It reminds me of Halloween. So people say, "Oh, we've got a Christmas in a glass, this, that, and other." Jäklika reminded me of Halloween, not necessarily All Hallows Eve per se, but that, like you were saying there, about that time of the year. Do you know what I mean? Where it starts to get a bit chillier, not quite freezing cold or anything like that, but that little bit chillier when you put on your first jacket. And I said, it's always, I think when I get back to the rugby, that's going to be in my hip flask for going to the rugby. Do you know what I mean? Because as like for autumn internationals and stuff like that, I think that's like the perfect expression for that time of the year. It's not too like mulled winey sherry type. Do you know what I mean? So it's not too dark, but it's just getting into that. And I think if you wanted to put like people say, oh, we've got Halloween, we've got Christmas in a glass, and this is summer and everything like that. And I think that definitely that's Halloween in a glass or bonfire night in a glass.
Yeah, and what I think is so nice as well is that if you have a dram of it on maybe in springtime or in the middle of summer, it might not be the flavors you would go for, but it brings back the memories. So it doesn't mean that the whiskey is only meant to be drunk at that specific time of year, but it's just when you want that memory or that feeling and that experience, which is what I really like about whiskey, because I think the flavor and people's opinion of whiskey is really related to their experience and their memories of it. So it's, definitely. Do you have a one, Richard, that you think is a specific time of year or a specific feeling for you?
I think the apple bloom, like for me, when we started in, I think we started the same sort of time, February, March, and I tried apple bloom a couple of times before that, but then we had it in lots of tastings, around sort of spring, just before the Grunter, which we should have probably had on, Mick. Grunter, the green tea.
Grunter is easy. I think it's easy. Now, after this lesson, mate, I'm going to revise literally everything that I thought was easy to say. And I'm going to be messaging Morgan, pal, mate, we need like 1 hour a week, please.
Well, I'll have to write them out phonetically.
Is Grunter right there or thereabouts?
Grunt, yeah, I would say.
Yeah, Grunter. Grunter, okay, yeah. Well, so that and the apple bloom for me for spring, summertime. I don't like the heat. I think I've got too much Celtic blood in me to deal with humid weather as well. So I prefer the cooler times of year. But spring, a bit of sun about, but not too warm yet. So for me, apple bloom around that time of year was perfect, and works very well. I think the Calvados casks with our spirit character complemented each other very well. I think we've got probably one more time, guys, for a comment. I think we've seen one come in. I know that Carl's highlighted it. Hopefully he's going to show it up any moment. Here we go.
Oh my lord!
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw he also mentioned the other one. So this is a kind of little. It's like the three witches watched three Swatch watches. Which witch watched which Swatch watch? It's like that.
Mate, you did a better job of that than I could have done as well.
Yeah.
Practiced a lot. That's my party trick. No, so this one is sju sjösjuka sjömän. I almost couldn't do it myself.
What a one to finish on. Yeah.
I know.
Got it again.
Sju sjösjuka sjömän.
No, that
was close.
Very close.
I rushed myself into that one and tripped over myself.
Well, so it's 3 words. It's sju. Sjösjuka. Sjösjuka. Sjömän.
Can I have a go? Sjösjuka sjömän.
Yeah, perfect. That's great.
Sjösjuka sjömän.
Perfect. What good one to end on.
Yeah, lovely. Mick, do you want to have another bash?
Sjösjuka sjömän.
Yeah.
You're just saying that to be nice.
I think people could understand the gist of it.
So you need a sympathetic ear, basically. That's what you're saying. You've been in Edinburgh for a good couple of years now. You're used to Cody murdering the language like we're doing this evening. So you've got yourself a sympathetic ear. You get roughly the gist, and you fill in the proper bits in your own mind.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. I mean, as long as someone tries it, I'm happy. It's just a little bit of fun.
Exactly. And that was the whole point of tonight, guys. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's pretty much all we've got time for this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. But before we go, Rich is going to run us through the Black Friday and Cyber Monday deal packs and what's in them. So over to you, Rich.
That's it, yeah. So, you mentioned at the beginning, one that runs out today is the Moment Pack. So we've got the Caribbean, the Fuel Muck. I've got it wrong already, haven't I? Caribbean and Prestige. That's it, yeah. Prestige, Fuel Muck, Caribbean, and the EFA. So those 4. So that's 275. That ends today. So these bottles retail at £99. You can get all 4 of them for £275, but it runs out at midnight tonight. The next deal we've got, which runs out tomorrow, is the seasonal pack. We can get 6 of our seasonal and limited edition whiskies there. So the Hurdeted, the Winterblood, the Intelligens, the Apple Bloom, the Svensk Amerikansk Ek, and the Gruvgold. And as I said, some of those, I realised if we should have covered all the ones we had in these packs, Mick, so that when we did the recap at the end,
we should have done, Rich. We probably should have done.
Well, even with it, I'm sure I got 1 or 2 of those wrong. But I'll definitely be saving this video to my tabs so that I can watch it for research in the future. I'll say. The last of the bundles that we've got put together as well is our Explorers pack, which runs out day after tomorrow. So in there you've got 5 whiskies and 2 gins, as well as a case of our Creator Tonic. So you've got all 4 of the core range: the Brooks whiskey, the Mack, the Svensk Ik, the Svensk Ruk, the Yacht Liquor, Lab and Distillery Organic Gin. You can say that in my accent easily enough. And I'm going to guess with this, the Creator Gin, and our Creator Tonic. How was that? How was the gin bit there?
I think it's called Creator, but I'm not
Creator.
entirely sure.
I would say Creator is how I've been saying it the whole time, and I second guess myself as soon as we got there.
It's about the accent, Richard. About the accent. We need to sell it with the accent. Creator.
Well, that's it. So yeah, moment pack 275, seasonal pack 225, and the Explorer pack 199. But go on to Mackmyra.co.uk to have a look at those. And the Cyber Monday deal that Micky mentioned was actually a tasting pack, a very special tasting pack we put together for our Christmas tasting on the 29th of December. So have a look at that as well. So that's the Motorhead whiskey, Motorhead, the Vintergrud. Can you say the Vintergrud for us, Moa? Perhaps if you say it, people might look at these packs.
Vinterglad.
Perfect, thank you. The Schussbarscheruk, and then one of our ambassadors drams, our ambassador cask. If you have a look at our website, you'll see some of these two very special single cask whiskies that we've got there, and you're able to try a sample in this pack on the 29th. So have a look and check it out. And,
yeah, sounds like a great pack.
Before you sign us off, Mick, I'd just like to say thank you for being what I imagine a very good teacher is, someone who's very supportive whilst they're there and present with you, and saves all of their laughter for when they leave the classroom afterwards. So thank you very much for it.
Well, thank you for having me. I've had great fun, so I should do this again.
Oh, definitely. I think we'll have to put you on a retainer or something like that, just for our own educational purposes more than anything else. So no, honestly, Moa, thanks a lot for joining me and Rich tonight. It's been great. Everybody that's contributed, everybody that's watched and sent us some tongue twisters. Well, tongue twisters from me and Rich. Obviously, natural language from Moa. She's obviously, she can say she's enjoyed it, so that's great. Rich will be back on Friday. I've got a private tasting to do with our good friend Gareth. For a pub in Kendal. So VIP patrons will be Graham Skinner and Dave Worthington, aka Boutique Dave. They're going to be talking about whiskey and art, basically. Next Wednesday, me and Richard, I'm back with the guys from the Whiskey Nest, find out about them. And then next Friday, me and Richard will be in with my good friend Mike Taylor, Chris McGowan of Edinburgh Taylor Company. Learn about some cool threads and how they just work in with the world of whiskey and stuff like that as well. So we've got some good content and that coming up, guys. So please keep tuning in, like the comment, tell your pals, and it's not as funny as this every single time. We try to make it that way, but I think just some mockery of me and Rich is always needed occasionally just to bring us back down to earth a bit. So for myself, it's a good night.
Yeah, and for me, and last thing I'll say, Dave Worthington, who's joining us on Friday, is actually in the comments. I've seen him here now, so he's been having a good laugh, it seems. So we'll try and get him to pronounce some of these things on Friday as well. How do you feel about that, Dave?
And I think we'll let Moa take us out with a scholar.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, guys. Skål.
Cool.